What's up, guys? Welcome to Fuel Cap. We are in episode 10. We made it 10 episodes so far. And this week we have my good friend Anthony Ferrero. Anthony, how are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Not
Yeah.
bad. Hanging in there. Bored.
Yeah. Bored.
Probably like everyone else. I mean,
Probably.
a lot
But
less bored now because, shit's starting to open back up and everything, so
yeah.
getting
But
better.
you've been back at work too, right?
Yeah, so I never left work. The only time I left work was for like 2 weeks because my father got the virus. So I
Oh,
had
that's
to
right. That's
stay
right.
out and make sure, everyone was safe at my job. So,
Mm. So when the virus first started, you cut your hours, but you didn't close.
yeah, so we were open from 8 to 3, Monday through Friday, and we were closed Saturday because usually Saturday we're
Mm-hmm.
open 8 to 3.
Yeah.
And then now we're open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and now we're still closed Saturday.
Still closed Saturday.
But I think next week we're gonna be back open. Yeah.
Yeah. Has it been slower at all, like during the cut
No,
hours? No, really.
no. Because I mean, in the beginning it was a little slow, like when everything um, but like once everyone like the oh my god, oh like the checks for Corona pretty much from the government, everyone
Hmm.
just started coming in and getting their cars fixed because they had nothing else to spend it on
Yeah, that's
besides
true. That's
food
true.
and stuff. So
Yeah, but so some backstory about how I know you, Ant. I met him at Brookdale. We had classes at Brookdale together. In the automotive program, and I don't know. At first, I didn't know who you were, and then I think it was Joe I who like introduced me, sort of. And
all right, you're going
then
in and out. Give me 1 second.
oh, you're good. Oh,
Lost David.
oh, there we go. Wow, I've never heard Skype
Oh,
make that noise before. Can you hear me?
yeah, your voice is going like in and out.
Oh no. Technical difficulties. Always gonna have those. Yeah. Now you're frozen. Can you hear me now?
Can you check my Wi-Fi for me? Ask Nick.
Yeah. He's playing too much Apex. Can you hear me at all?
Kind of.
Kind of.
It's like going. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Oh, you can hear me?
Talk. Yeah, now
Yeah.
I can.
Okay. Okay. Good. 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 I was saying. Oh, I bet Nick's playing too much Apex, slowing down your Wi-Fi.
Probably.
Does he
No,
still?
I know they're both on Xbox.
Are they?
Both of them.
Wow.
Yeah. So David met me at Brookdale,
Hmm.
and we were both friends with Joe Ignieri.
Yeah.
And Joe texted David and was like, "Yo, it was Anthony Ferrero in your class." And David was like, "Oh, who's that?" He goes, "He looks like a fuckboy." And then David comes right up to me. He goes, "Hey, what's up, fuckboy?" And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Joe Gary told me to say that." And I was like, "Oh my god." I was
And
like,
yeah, and that's how we met. And then we had
"Yep,
we had breaks together. I think after that.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, yeah, Brookdale was fun. Definitely learned a lot. I mean, you've taken off with everything that you've learned versus me. Like I've
yeah,
learned all that, and
definitely."
I haven't really done much with it so far.
Yeah, yeah, but you're more into like your photography, which
Yeah, I
is,
know.
I mean, you're good at it, so why not? You know,
Yeah.
I
No,
wouldn't be
but I
doing it
think
if I was good at it.
yeah, but
I enjoy taking pictures. I just suck.
oh yeah, no, it's definitely fun. It's even more fun like when you learn to take good pictures. Like there's actually like there's so much like to it. Like there's so much you can do when you like actually learn.
Yeah, and then when you see like the final product, like after editing it and everything, it feels like such an accomplishment. It's
Yeah,
kind of like
no.
when you're working on a car, you put in like a aftermarket part and you have some type of idea of what it's gonna do and what it's
Mhm.
gonna look like and so forth. But then once it's done, you're like, oh, it's like much better in person,
Oh
like
yeah.
when it's done,
Oh, absolutely.
you know?
Yeah. But I was gonna say, I feel like a lot of people who finish the auto program might not necessarily go on to like work on cars because I know like Neil, he's taking off with his detailing business,
Yeah,
and that requires very little knowledge of how to work on cars. But like, still, the fact that he went there and like learned everything, like he has the knowledge. Like if he does want to ever like pivot or just needs it for whatever reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's always good to know something about them too for when
Mhm.
you get older and you want to work on them yourself and save money.
Oh, absolutely. It saves
Not
so much money.
definitely not cheap to maintain from someone else's, having someone else do it for you.
Oh yeah. No.
You know,
I mean, like
I
you
mean,
know, and I would know, like having because you got your daily, it needed some work. I got my daily, it also needed some work, and like
yeah,
it was like the cheapest cars like ever, just because like you could
exactly.
get parts and put them in yourself.
Literally, all I did was, I think when I first got the car, I dumped like just $1,000 into it. Sounds like a lot, but when you think like all the work that I actually did, like if I was
Yeah,
to
you
get
did a
that done
lot.
somewhere, it'd probably be around like $5,000 or $6,000
Yeah, because you
if you
did
add
like
everything up.
you
You
touched
know.
like a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, just spark plugs, wires, rotor, valve cover gaskets, axles,
Mm,
one wheel bearing, outer and tie rods, inner and outer tie rods,
yeah,
struts, shocks, pretty much just shit that I needed. It's an old car. It's a '95, so
yeah.
a lot of shit was worn out. But I
Hmm.
mean, again, the parts for the car is like dirt cheap,
Oh,
like
absolutely.
dirt
Yeah.
cheap.
No, I'm sure.
It's insane. Like I think really good struts in the front and really good shock absorbers in the rear altogether were like $200.
Are you
And
serious?
it took me like
Oh
an hour
wow,
and a half to put in.
that's
I was like, why
crazy.
not? Most
Yeah,
of the time I wouldn't care because it's like just like kind of like a beater. But I was like, you know what? I was like, for this price, I was like, why not?
yeah,
I was
right.
like, I'll just pop them in. Yeah,
You were probably
I
expecting
didn't
to
care.
pay that much just for like the set in the front, and then you looked and you probably
Yeah,
realized like, oh, I could afford like both really good ones.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I think I got Moog. Moog started
Oh
getting
yeah,
into like
Yeah,
quick
Moog's good.
struts,
Yeah.
so I use them for all like most of my suspension parts. But they're not made in. They used to always be made in the USA, but now Moog is only. I mean, some of their parts are still made in the USA, but if you look at like a lot of the boxes you get, like end tie rods, if you look at the back, it'll either say made in Mexico or Taiwan,
Oh really?
which is surprising. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
got end tie rods for my Miata and inners, and it was like $280
Hmm.
just for inner and outers, and they were made in Mexico. And I was like, it's kind of disappointing, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Because they
I
used to
mean,
be
I'm
made in the
sure
U.S.
what happened.
I said because they used to be made in the U.S. and now like everything's
Yeah,
getting outsourced.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they still have good quality control, like where they're being
Hmm.
manufactured, but
Yeah. No,
it's
it's
just
not the
upsetting.
same. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, when you see like made in the USA, like you could feel confident for the most part that it's like good quality, and then when versus
yeah,
like nah, it's a little iffy. But generally though, like a company like Moog, like they're big enough that I would like feel comfortable buying parts from them.
exactly. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
that
think I
and
actually got Moog parts.
what happened?
I think I got Moog parts for the Mazda
They.
3. For the
Oh,
Mazda
okay.
3. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The trailing arm bushings were Moog.
They'll last forever.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people like the greasable like tie rod ends and stuff.
Mm,
I'm just personally not a fan because like most of the time when you put the grease in, like the boot breaks,
yeah.
and then they say the boot's not supposed to break because then that's how moisture and dirt gets in.
Right.
But how are you supposed to get the old grease out?
Yeah. No,
It has
exactly.
to come out. So to get it out, you keep pumping it until you see it leak out the new color, pretty much.
Hmm.
But then you still get moisture in there and stuff. That's why I like the sealed ones. Like I've had sealed ones on the Miata now for pretty much the whole life of the car, and they've lasted me forever. Like no looseness or anything.
Yeah.
So if they're like a good quality one, I feel like they'll last you a while.
That actually, I have actually a question for you because I was looking at buying adjustable sway bar links for the RX-8 because I'm planning on
Mm-hmm.
lowering it, so that's like a must. And so I was on the forums, and everyone was saying to buy the Evo R adjustable sway bar links. So I went on the website and I ordered them, and then 2 days later they gave me a refund. There's like no communication or anything, but I'm assuming that they just don't sell them anymore. So then I was looking. You good?
I don't know what's going on.
No.
I couldn't hear you again.
Oh, really? Hey guys, sorry for the interruption. We were having some technical difficulties. I had to switch from Skype on my PC to Skype in my browser, and after that, everything was fine from there on out. So, sorry for the interruption. Now, let's get back to the show. All right. So what was I talking about? All right. I was talking about my adjustable sway bar and links.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, I ordered the Evo R and links, and then they gave me a refund, and I'm assuming they refunded me. They didn't like message me at all or say anything. They just gave me the money back, and I'm assuming it's because they stopped selling them, but they're still up on their site for some reason. And I went back in the forums and was like looking at other brands people have used. So then I asked, I was like, "Hey, I think Evo R stopped selling them. Like, what do you recommend?" And people were talking about which I've never heard of. There's ball joint sway bar end links, and then there's Heim Heim
Heim
Heim.
joints.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
heard of that.
So Heim joints is what I have in the Miata.
Okay.
Pretty much as easy as to explain it. So a ball joint sway bar end link is pretty much like I'm pretty sure the Mazda 3 has them. It's just a stud and then a ball. You know, it's a ball joint, like a regular lower control arm ball joint, or upper, if you have upper control arms, it's like an upper control arm ball joint.
Yeah.
As to where the Heim jointed ones are, it's a circle, and then in the middle of that circle, there's like kind of like a washer, I guess you could say, and it turns, and it has such a tight fitment, kind of like a ball joint.
Okay.
And it'll move, like you put a bolt through it and then it'll move with it. Personally, I like the Heim joint ones better.
Okay.
I think they last longer.
Okay.
But I mean the ball joint sway bar and links are good too. You know, they just
Well,
they need grease. The
some
Heim joint ones don't need grease.
Oh, okay. Because some people were saying that they don't like the Heim type ball joints, which I don't know. I wasn't sure. Like most people were like agreeing that they don't like them. So I wasn't sure what to go with, because the ones I ordered were like ball joint, like regular ball joint style.
I mean, honestly, it's not going to affect the performance.
Yeah.
They're pretty much. I mean, once you put the bolt through a Heim joint one, it's pretty much like the same thing. It's just a different. You know, instead of a ball, it's like a little washer.
Okay.
So.
All right. Because I wasn't too sure, so I'll probably just order like whatever then. Are there any brands that you like recommend then? Because I can't get the ones that I really wanted, so I wasn't sure.
Brand wise, I believe I got them from Flying Miata, which is a big brand. They do like SCAA and like all the track cars for Miata. So they're the ones that recommended those to me.
Okay.
Because they do have the ball joint ones as well, but they said they like the Heim. I don't know. I guess everyone has. I guess for each car it could be different.
Yeah.
Brand wise, I would check out Racing Beat. Racing Beat does a lot with sway bars. And exhaust.
Their end links though, they looked like just as long as the stock ones, because I want shorter ones.
They're not adjustable.
They are, but I don't know. Let me see if I could find them. Racing Beat RX. Because when I was looking at them, they no, these are non-adjustable. Because I don't know if this is them adjusted all the way out or all the way in. Let me actually send that to you. Oh well, if you're on your phone right now, you won't be able to actually look at them. So
yeah.
Let me try to screen share. Can I do that? Oh no, I can't do that from here. All right. Okay, I can. Haha. Here we go. All right. Can you see them?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's adjusted all the way out.
All the way out. Yeah. So they're pretty long. In that case.
But you can push them in.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That was like a stupid moment. Yeah. No,
yeah,
I could adjust them in.
Yeah, definitely. So let me think here. I think it's when, like, to adjust the preload on the sway bar. Like if you want it really stiff, like on the Miata, I have them all the way down,
Mm-hmm.
as tight as they can go.
Yeah.
Um, and personally, it does make a big difference when you have adjustable end links.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the preload, like depending on what you're doing, drifting or tracking the car, um, if you're drifting, you don't want it to snap back too much,
Yeah.
but you don't want it to not snap back at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like the same with track. As to where track, you want it more to snap back, so when you turn around that corner, you're more flat on the ground when you get out of it. So you're not all over
Right.
the place. But if you have it snap back too fast, and you lose control of the car,
Uh-huh.
and then it comes into understeer and oversteer, and it's you pretty much just test it out, see how you like it feel, and
Okay.
if
Yeah,
you don't
I
like it,
mean,
then just adjust it.
I'm not track ready yet. Like there's still a ways to go. So it'd really just be for a street build for the next like foreseeable future.
Yeah, well, I mean that's perfect. You can test them out.
Mm.
And then if you're not sure if you know the difference, just put them all the way up as far out as they go, and then drive it and go around a turn, and then put them all the way closed, and then
And
see
then
how you
yeah, same thing.
see the
Okay.
difference.
Yeah. But why don't you talk about you just mentioned the Miata, so why don't you talk about that? Because that is a great build so far.
Thank you. So too much money, way too much money.
to get it or
To build it,
to
to
build it.
build it.
Okay.
Um, and having a car for the rest of my life.
Oh
So,
wait a minute. You just got quiet.
um,
Say that again.
1 second here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I do plan on having the car for the rest of my life. Hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, knock on wood, no one totals my car or anything.
Yeah.
But sometimes things happen. But if something does happen to the car, and it's unfixable, or I'm just gonna get another one and just swap over everything.
Mm.
They're all swappable parts.
Yeah.
Nothing's permanent. But right now, pretty much what I have done to it is the whole suspension, from upgraded sway bars, coils, um, rear polyurethane bushings, a 4-to-3 torsion differential, um, stage one clutch, lightweight flywheel,
Mm.
upgraded shifter, a lot, just a bunch of things.
The
Yeah,
steering wheel, door
yeah,
cards. Like there's a lot of
steering
small
wheel.
stuff on it. Like I'm going through your
Exactly. Like
Instagram right now.
I end up forgetting, and it's just I don't know, a bunch of stuff to make the chassis stiffer, drive better. For me as a driver to stay in the seat, be more safe.
Yeah.
Um, some aesthetics here and there. Aerodynamics.
Mm. Oh yeah, you just
Um,
got the little wing, the little spoiler.
yeah, that was. I've been wanting to get that for a while.
Yes, it looks so nice. I have yet to see it in person still, but it definitely in this picture looks really nice.
Yeah, it's shiny. Definitely shiny.
carbon fiber.
Yeah, the hardtop brackets right there.
Mm.
They look simple, but for the track, so for Miatas, for anyone that doesn't know like what a Miata soft top latch or even hard top latch looks like, you just press the button and it's a little latch and it flips it right open,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. But for the track, they know that those latches over time they wear out,
Yeah.
and they can just pop off by themselves. So they want you to have like the hard latches, pretty much ones with bolts.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, it stiffens up the chassis a lot because there's not much movement as compared to where the regular push off brackets are.
Yeah. Well, you said with the hardtop on, you actually notice like a difference in the way
Oh,
it rides and everything.
insane! Yeah, insane.
Because
So
this is
with
you have the soft top up in this picture,
yes, yeah.
and
So with
then
any
here's the hardtop.
there's the hard top. Yep,
But pre-wrap.
yep.
Wow.
And with any removable top car, the roof is a main structural point for any car.
Yeah.
So you have a soft top. There's definitely going to be unibody flex and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But once you put the hardtop on a Miata, you instantly realize like the difference that there is.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, next is right now I have the Track Dog Racing Pro Charger kit coming in. Comes with a C494 Rotrex Pro Charger. Um, Around 15 boosts on
Okay.
everything stock, motor, trans.
Yeah.
Just the clutch, which I already have done.
Mm-hmm.
So to the wheels, about 220 wheel horsepower.
Which
Yeah,
in that small of a car is gonna be like flying.
yeah, it's gonna be very quick. In a 2,300 pound car, I mean, you can't ask for more. I mean, once you get up with Miatas, once you get up to around the 400 range, it's really, I mean, yeah, it's how do I put it? It's not as track useful, I guess you could say, because once you're going for my Miata with the diff that I have and the gear ratios, each gear is short.
Yeah.
And I mean very short. So you have a lot of power in a lot of gears. Besides fifth and fourth, that's kind of when it drags out.
Yeah.
First, second, and third, you got a decent amount of power, and once you get up to 400 horsepower, I mean you're probably gonna have a different trans at that point, but
Mm-hmm.
still you're gonna be spinning tires every time you try to floor it out of a turn, and it's gonna be you're gonna have to ease into it instead of just going full throttle.
Right.
There is such thing as, well, maybe not some people, but too much horsepower for a certain car. So
It depends on the parts that are in it and like what it's built to
exactly,
handle.
yes.
Yeah.
So I could put bigger rims and bigger tires on it, but then I'd have to start cutting fenders and stuff like that,
Which you already rolled
definitely
fenders to begin with.
rolled and pulled. Yeah.
Rolled and
So
pulled. Yeah.
there's not much. I mean, maybe I can get one more inch out of there, but I'd be pushing it. So
Yeah.
it's definitely something I want to stay away from. That's my main thing with the car, is not cutting into the body.
Mm-hmm.
A
Yeah,
lot
no,
of
because
people cut the
once you
rear
cut into the body, you
bumpers.
can't go back. Like it's
Exactly. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
ruined, but like
Especially rear quarter panels, man. They're welded on.
yeah,
You
yeah,
gotta weld new ones on, and that's not fun because most of the time when you weld new ones on, if it's not done right, they end up rotting out. So
mm.
at certain points where their weld was made, it starts to rot out.
Wow. So yeah, that could really be the death sentence for a car once you cut the
Yeah,
fenders.
yeah, no, definitely. I I think the first time I raced any car in my Miata was a stock Honda Civic. I think it was like a 27, like one of the newer ones, like
Okay.
the 1.5 turbos. And I was with him the whole time, which was funny.
Oh wow,
And
really?
yeah, I was right next to him, and then eventually he pulled off at the end by me.
Mm.
But it's a fun car, It's the turns that really make it fun, because anyone that's driven a Miata knows what I'm talking about. And if you don't, you have to fucking drive in one. Because David knows.
I have
David knows.
Did I drive yours? Have I driven yours?
No,
Not.
but you drove with me for the photo shoot, and
Oh yes, that was crazy.
you're going like 60 around a
Around the
tight
turn,
turn.
I was like, how fast were we going? You're like 60, and I was like, what?
It doesn't feel like it. That's the best part.
Yeah.
It's
No,
such
it doesn't. It just it grips. It's so grippy. It just
yeah.
grips. No body roll with your setup, and it just takes the turn. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a nice adrenaline rush. It
For
doesn't,
sure.
it's like the main thing. Sometimes you don't need horsepower to get an adrenaline rush, definitely.
Oh no,
I mean, it
absolutely
definitely
not.
helps. Definitely
Yeah.
helps. But I'm more of the track. I'm more into like tracking cars, and I mean, I don't mind drag racing. It's just not my favorite thing to go in a straight line.
Yeah, I mean, there's no excitement. Like I get it. Like people build cars and win races and win money, but like that's one thing.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah.
building,
Everyone's got like their, there's drag
yeah,
racing, there's drifting, there's autocross is what they call it instead
hmm
of track.
yeah,
I like autocross. I
yeah.
love drifting too, but drifting, beat the shit out of your car, man. And
hmm
I mean, you can have a clean drift car like Chris Fix, but
Chris, yeah, I don't know how. Like he's so careful, but he's
yeah,
he's
you
really
gotta
skilled
be.
too.
Yeah, no, he definitely got very good.
Yeah.
really good. I remember watching him from the beginning. I mean, obviously he's gonna be horrible. Most people are,
Yeah.
But he's amazing. He got really, really good now, and
Mm-hmm.
especially he shows you, if I was to make a YouTube channel, like just like he has, like he shows you what each upgrade's for,
Yeah.
as to where like you see someone have like a new steering wheel and you're like, oh, like that's cool, it's aesthetics, but as to where, my steering wheel is I think 302 millimeters or something in circumference, the diameter, and to where my old one was like 350. So now you're doing less hand over hand when you're turning,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a lot more knee space, and my seat, is just to keep me, planted so I don't move anywhere,
Yeah.
just like the car.
Yeah.
So
No, your seat really like grabs you. It.
yeah.
The one thing though, driving it's great. Getting in and out is like the killer.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's not the most fun, but once you're seated and you're strapped in, you feel like you're ready to go.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But driving it, I used to drive I started driving it every day to work, but then I stopped because I would, like, before I got my car, I'd put down my towel and take my shirt off and put my skinny tee on, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a whole system just to not get the car dirty and
Mm-hmm.
keep it
No,
clean.
I
Like,
totally get that.
I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, I'm already tired out of work, working in the heat over 300-degree engine bays. I was like, I
Oh.
just
Yeah.
gotta bring that beater. And the Miata has AC too. It still has AC, power steering.
Oh, good for you. I don't even have AC in the RX-8 right now because I need to get a new crank pulley because it's bent. So when I put the new belt on, it actually snapped it. The old belt, I don't know if I mentioned this to you. The old belt had it's a 4-tooth belt. One of the teeth were like totally just cut off like intentionally, and it's because the crank pulley's bent. So when it's actually on there, it I guess causes
Shreds it.
yeah. And then I put the new belt on, and then I was driving, and it just shredded while I was driving, and I got so scared at first, but then I realized like, oh, it's just a belt, and then
Yeah.
yeah, but
They'll sound pretty gnarly when they break, man.
yeah.
It is just technically a big rubber band, but they got a bunch of, like, they're hard. They're
Yeah,
made out
yeah,
of
no, yeah.
different
Well,
materials. So.
and the thing is that I keep my engine cover on. So what happened was
I
when
started smacking it, didn't
it's yeah, and
it?
then
Yeah.
like days later, because there was another piece. Because when because I was able to drive it home, like I wasn't that far, so I drove it home. I thought I pulled everything out, and then like a few days later, like literally like I drove it like every day since that happened, and like it took like a few days. Another like significant chunk of the belt was still in there. It was just like hidden somewhere, and it got picked up while I was driving.
Oh god.
Yeah, but I made sure because I was like, there might be other pieces in here, so I took my engine cover off, so that way it would spit up and like hopefully go somewhere else that I could like get it once I hear it like hit the hood or whatever, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. So
I had like I had two instances just like that.
mm.
As where my Plymouth, my beater car, I did the timing belt on it, and there's the crank pulley, and then there's a pulley that bolts right into the middle of it, and that's just for the AC. And when I was putting it back on, I was using a rubber mallet, being careful, and I
Mm.
was going in circles, to seat it correctly.
Yeah.
And I guess the metal that it was made out of, it was just real flimsy, and I guess the best bet would have been for me to pull it in with the bolts. Um,
Oh yeah.
but so when I was doing that, it bent it like just a hair, and I started up the car, and you just heard slap, 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 like belt slapped,
Mm-hmm.
and I got, my heart dropped. I was like, oh man, I was like, the timing belt, tensioner or
Yeah, you
something.
think the worst
That's all.
immediately.
Yeah, always. And so the first thing I did was take the AC belt off, because I have an AC belt and a regular serpentine belt. As
That's
to
how
where
mine is.
Yeah, so I took off the first belt, which was the AC belt, and it stopped right away. And I was like, oh, perfect.
Hmm.
So now I got to figure out why it's doing it. And then I take so first I take off the idler. I changed the idler; it was brand new, so that was fine.
Yeah.
I checked the AC pulley, that was fine. It wasn't seized up or anything. And then I took the crank one off, and I was like, oh. So I couldn't find one anywhere. No junkyards had it laying around. couldn't find
Mm,
it, nowhere. So
yeah.
I took it off. I heated it up until it was red hot, and I got it on a flat
Oh
piece
wow,
of
really?
metal, and I just got a chisel, and wherever it was lifted a hair from the flat surface, I just slammed it in, and it's been fine ever since.
Oh, nice.
And then the second instance was with the Miata. This is when I first got it, and I was doing maintenance on it, and I did the timing belt on that as well.
Hmm.
And I took the crank pulley off, and there's this little kind of like a washer,
Hmm.
kind of like a spacer plate. And when I took it off, I forgot the orientation it went on, and I put it behind the crank pulley instead of the front.
Oh.
And that was the hard part, because you couldn't see the indentation of where it was actually bolted on. Otherwise, I would have been like, okay, here's the bolt marks. It goes right there.
Yeah.
So I put it on behind it, and I put my new belts on, and I'm driving. I'm like, like, power steering. I pop my hood, and my belt's missing. I'm like, what the heck? And so I turn around and I go back the same way I was, and there it is, right in the middle of the road.
It's chilling.
So this was yeah, this is right on 516, and this is a Gates RPM belt. So these belts they're like $80 a piece. They're not meant to
Ooh.
strike
Ooh.
or anything.
Okay.
I got really nervous when I was looking for it. So I saw it, I pulled over, put my hazards on, I ran right in the middle of the road and grabbed it. And then I put
That's
it on
funny.
again, and then I drove home and it did it again. I was like, you gotta be
Again.
kidding me. I was like,
No.
what's going on? So I'm looking and I see the crank pull. You could see it's off by 1 millimeter. It's out
Yeah,
one.
it makes a difference.
Oh yeah, big difference. So I took it off and I saw the plate and I was like, maybe it's supposed to go in front. So I put it in front and nothing happened ever.
Yeah.
So
Well, here's the
just
thing.
silly little things.
Yeah,
It's just
but
make a big difference.
when it comes to belts, belts is pretty simple, relatively simple compared to other things you could do. There's a lot
Yeah,
more complicated things you could do.
let's see tech work.
Yeah, but
It's like
I hate doing belts because of stuff
no, me
like
too.
that.
Yeah,
It's
but
just
I mean, it's hard for that to happen because you're not changing the pulleys.
right. No, that's true.
Um, but it's definitely possible. I remember you probably I showed you the picture. I did a belt on a Ford F-150, a 2006, and when I took the belt off, it just peeled into two.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that. It was beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So I mean, they're not. It's not that they're hard; they're tedious, as to where a lot
yeah,
of things on cars are.
and I
my
don't work on
friend.
cars as much as you, so you're probably a belt's probably a lot easier than it would
I
be for
mean,
me.
most of the time, yeah, most of the time it's just taking. It's just the fact of for example, doing an alternator on a 3.5 Nissan motor. I mean, they're my least favorite. I mean, you can ask Jackie. I did hers, and for certain body styles, depending on how it's made, you have to take out the radiator, the fans, and the compressor
Yeah, just to get
just to
to
get
it.
the alternator out. You
Yeah.
know. And then I have my one friend who has a V6 Ultima, which is a very rare car. It's manual, and his you just have to take out the fans and the compressor. You can leave the radiator. It's just how it's built. But you had to fully disconnect the compressor and take it out.
What year is it?
His Ultima is a 2009, I believe.
Oh, okay.
But his engine just blew. So
Oh, beat.
yeah, we're I feel real bad for him because I went to look at the car with him, and they're good motors. It's the motor that's in the 350Zs. It's not the
Yeah.
one. Jackie doesn't have that one. She has the DE, and I think he has the HR or something.
Okay.
Either or, the only thing that's able to tell the difference is if you look right on top. The intake manifold's plastic instead of aluminum.
Okay.
Um, so they make a lot more power. Not a lot more, but they make more power, and they don't burn oil as much as the ones with the aluminum intake manifolds.
Mm.
And that's why I was it's got 92,000 miles on it. The oil was good. It was full. There was no coolant anywhere. The car was in immaculate shape.
Yeah.
And so he said there's a PCV problem. The guy told us. I was like, okay. I was like, did you get the PCV valve changed? He goes, no, not yet. I was like, all right, Rich. So probably that's my friend's name, Rich. And I was
Mhm.
like, so we'll probably do that first. So then come to find out the PCV valves in the back rear bank, behind the intake manifold. So I was like, we'll just do it when we do a tune up.
Yeah.
And then he started, within a month of having the car, he started having multiple misfires.
Oh no.
Um, every time he would start the car overnight, it would cloud out the entire street with gray smoke. So it was burning oil. He had
Yeah.
to fill up the car with 1 quart of oil every day.
Are you
every
serious?
every day. That's how much oil, because the crank system was building up so much pressure that it was just bypassing the oil rings, and it was just burning
Wow.
instantly.
Wow.
So we did his first big job on the car. We took the valve covers off. We changed the valve. So with these valve covers, this is the funny part, right?
Okay.
This might be something you're gonna learn with Nissan. The so most oil galley, spark plug galleys,
Yeah.
the O-rings around them are, you can just change them out.
Mhm.
As to where Nissans, theirs are, you can't take them out. You have to get a new valve cover. If they're leaking, you got to get the entire valve cover.
Oh, are you kidding me?
But they're not expensive. They're like 30, $40 a piece.
All right, that's
So
not too bad.
no, so we changed the valve covers for those gaskets. Then we changed the valve cover gaskets. We changed the 3 coils in the rear bank just in case they were to go bad, so we didn't have to take the intake manifold off again.
Yeah.
6 spark plugs, and just did a tune-up on it. And you could easily tell, once I got to the rear bank and I took that intake manifold off, the PCV valve, the hose that connected to it, was crimped. So there was no pressure coming out of the engine at
At
all.
all. Oh, that's so
So
bad.
I changed the hose, I changed the PCV valve, and put it all back together, and it never smoked ever again. It never consumed oil like that ever again.
Yeah.
And it was running great. Then his alternator went. So then that was his second big job. That's like a $500 something job.
Mhm.
It's like it calls for like 4 hours. So then we
Wow.
changed the alternator, and then a week later his car blows up.
Like, why?
Out of nowhere. Out of nowhere.
That's crazy.
He spun a rod bearing. And I said, you know what? I said, whoever had the car before, I said it probably had this PCV problem bad, and they
Yeah.
never really were on top of the oil, so it's probably running dry a decent amount of the time.
Mm.
So now, I mean, the motors, fortunately, I mean, it's expensive, but it's one of the least expensive engines. It's like $800.
Oh, that's
You know,
not bad. That's not too bad for a whole motor.
it's just the labor. It's a front-wheel drive V6 manual, so you got to drop the front frame. You got to drop everything in the front, pretty much.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's gonna take a while to do.
Yeah, which I would do it for him, but I don't have my own shop, and it's gonna take a couple days, and I definitely don't want to do it at my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Backbreaking work, and it's just, especially on the ground. If something goes wrong, you need more leverage on something. It's better having it up in the air, and especially when you're dropping a front subframe.
Well, yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I
fun.
did the Ford engine and trans on the ground, but like that was in Hannah Ray's dad's garage, which is pretty well equipped.
Yeah.
All other than a lift, like he has literally like anything you need, and the jack stands, like he has like monster jack stands. Like we were working like very comfortably off the ground.
Like the 6 tons or something, or
yeah.
I think Adam, Adam Peters.
Yeah.
He has like some big ass ones that he was using for the Jeep, which I'm sure they even make bigger ones.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, no, definitely having bigger jack stands instead of 3 tons like the little ones is definitely helpful.
Yeah.
So.
But, yeah. So you're wearing the Elite Auto shirt. So are you're still doing a lot of stuff with that, right?
Yeah, I've actually had a car almost every day now.
Oh, good, cool.
Getting really busy. Just a couple of small jobs, trans flushes, coolant flushes, brakes, stuff like, regular maintenance stuff.
Yeah.
I got one big job coming up. I got to change a transmission torque converter solenoid in a Chevy Tahoe. His trans is overheating, and he had the code, and that'll definitely make your car overheat. So
yeah,
we have to. I have to drop the pan, and it's not a big job. It's annoying because you got to go through the valve body, and
Oh yeah, you got to go all up in there. We did that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we did that in school.
Mm-hmm.
It's just obviously the trans is overheating, and once it gets, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 245 is like the temperature you want it at.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And then once you get to about 270, 280, and then to the 300s, your seals and clutch packs start to burn out.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when you get like big problems. So I told him, I was like, don't drive it, you know.
Yeah.
So one, it's gonna have to be done at his house on the ground, which is not fun with a transpan, and especially on a 4L60E.
Yeah.
It's a lot of trans fluid, and they don't have a
So
drain plug, so it's just drop and pray. So it's gonna be fun on the ground.
with about the drain plug, because I did the transpan on my Ford, which it had a drain plug, and that's also you fill it through the drain plug. But then every car that I've done a transpan on, like in Brookdale or whatever, no drain plug. So then when I went to go do the Mazda 3's transpan, because the old one was like rusted.
Yeah.
I started undoing the transpan bolts, and I got around to the back side, and there's a drain plug right there.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, cool. So I pulled the drain plug, but like I had like
so much.
What?
It helps so much.
Yeah, but it's just funny because I didn't even think to look. Like
because you're so used to it.
It was like a stupid thing too, because I looked at the new one to make sure it fit, and like I held it, like I should have noticed that there was a drain plug, but I just like didn't. It was just like it went over my head, and then I started taking it out, got to the back side, and I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, it happens. I mean,
yeah,
the 4L60, stock doesn't come with a drain plug, but if you go on any auto parts store, you can get the pan for it, and you have the option: do you want a drain plug or not? And most people get the drain plug right away.
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, it's silly. It's stupid that it's not even on there from factory. I don't know why the engineers didn't say, let's put a drain plug on this thing,
Yeah. No, I don't know.
It's just like, oh my gosh. It's just like, I was working on a Cadillac SXT, some weird ass car, some truck, and I was doing a serpentine belt on it and a alternator.
Okay.
And I got the serp belt off, and I did the alternator, and I was going to put the serpentine belt back on. And the old one I just cut. Most of them I just cut off, so I don't have to deal with it getting caught. And
that's
so I just
pretty
cut
smart.
it. Yeah, I just cut it and pull it right out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put the new one on, and I look up, and I'm like, there's no way that belt's going to fit around this engine mount bracket. And come to find out, I go on All Data, it's a 2-hour serpentine belt job, as to where most are 0.5 to an hour.
Yeah.
You have to take the whole engine mount off and the engine mount bracket just to get the serpentine belt on.
What?
And I was like, who the fuck designed this car? Like, why?
Yeah. No.
Like, most of the time you sell a serpentine belt to a customer, like, yeah, do it. It's an hour job.
And then you realize
2 hours.
Yeah.
And then I had another silly thing like that today with a Ford Escape. It's their new motor, the 2.0 turbos. And I'm pretty sure those are in the Ford STs, actually. And it had a Bank 1 Sensor 1 O2 sensor code.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I was looking everywhere. I could only see the sensor Bank 2. Sensor 2 after the cat. That's the only one I could see from underneath the car.
Yeah.
And then I go up top, and I still can't see it. So I go on All Data. There's no information.
Of course not.
I figured, most of the time they're on the manifolds, the exhaust manifolds. So to get to the exhaust manifold, since the manifold's on the back of the engine, and you had to take the wiper arms off, you had to take the windshield cowl off. It was like another stupid job just to change 102 sensor. It was ridiculous.
Jeez.
Absolutely insane. Like the whole plastic cover under the windshield is like the most pain in the ass thing to ever do on any car.
Oh yeah, no.
Most of the time the clips break, and then getting it back on perfect it's just a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm. But that's like the thing with like new cars. Like, there's two perspectives on it. If you're just like a regular person, you drive your car to work and like maybe like groceries, whatever. Like a new car is like ideal because you get great gas mileage, pretty decent power. Like honestly, like engines are very efficient nowadays.
Yeah.
There's so many like features and like stuff that's like makes it a great car to own. And then like people like you and me who like know how to work on cars, that do work on cars, it's like you view it as, oh, it's it's harder to work on. There's more stuff to break, and everything's more expensive. Like,
Yep.
it's just like it's stupid. Like how like those are not stupid, but like it's just like funny. Like there's like the two like for one type of person, it's very very beneficial to have like a brand new car. For another type of person, it's an extreme like headache.
Yeah, no, I personally agree because I've had brand new cars come in at like 40,000 miles that need a wheel bearing, or as that Ford with the O2 sensor, it only had 60,000 miles on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a lot at all. That is baby miles. And the wheel bearing for the one car was like the part alone, like discounted and everything, was like $230.
Yeah.
Like it's insane.
Yeah.
It's wheel bearings should not be going. Even if you hit a decent pothole, it definitely should not be going at that little mileage.
No. No, not at all.
It was on it was on the GMC Yukon, or I think that's what Yukon is, GMC.
Yeah.
Maybe that's Chevy, but I mean they're both the same thing anyway. But it was an XL, and it had the big chrome rims on it, and you
Of
look at
course.
it and you look underneath and you see the suspension and any type of wheel. Like when you see the guys with the lifted Jeeps and everything, they don't realize when they put those big meaty tires on there and the rims, they don't realize that's leverage for the road to mess with suspension.
Death wobble.
Yeah. Now it's just think of like when you get a breaker bar on a bolt. That's pretty much what those tires and rim setups are. That's a breaker bar for your suspension.
No, absolutely.
It's just more for it to move and grab. So
yeah,
that's like the main problem we have with Jeeps. It always needs a ball joint or something because it's just so much wear and tear on the suspension from the big tires.
especially most of the time when people invest in like the big tires, the big wheels, like they're probably also going off-roading. Like people don't just do that to their Jeeps just to do it. Like maybe some people, but most of them are going off-roading and stuff, so there's all that extra wear and tear that normally wouldn't happen either.
Exactly. But most of those people know how to work on their Jeeps. So
yeah, fortunately.
But there are a lot of those Jeep guys and girls that they just do it for looks, which, listen, it looks cool, don't get me wrong, it looks awesome, but if you're not going to do anything with it, then why do it?
If I don't see mud on your Jeep and it's built, it's lifted or something, I am automatically assuming you're doing it just for looks, and you suck. no, that's harsh, but like kind of true. Like
no,
you're not gonna don't do something just for looks and then like not like get the use out of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, why are you gonna put why are you gonna invest in like a $10,000 turbo kit if you're not gonna go into boost? You're just gonna stay under 3,000 RPMs and just baby it.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're gonna floor it and hit line and bang through gears. And you break something, you fix it. That's just how it goes. That's the name of the game. Once you start modifying a car, you're gonna realize things break more often than they would have if it was stock.
Mm-hmm. Have you blown a motor yet? Have you reached that milestone in your life of having cars?
No, I have not.
Lucky you.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's not your fault either because those motors just have timing chain problems.
On the Ford, yeah.
That's why they
two motors.
Floaters, bro.
Yeah, no, that's kind of
the head gasket.
What?
That usually happens, or either the head gasket with that car.
Yeah. But
another time.
Yeah, no, but that's almost like most people I know who build cars. Like that's almost a rite of passage is blowing a motor. Like Henry's dad just blown multiple motors. My friend Kiefer has blown him. I would argue he blew a motor in half because the first one he definitely blew. I was with him when it blew. The second time, it kind of like just wasn't making like nearly as much power as it should have. And he would have to like limp it everywhere, so it wasn't drivable. Like the engine was definitely like shot, just not like 100% blown. Like it ran, but just not good. Yeah.
What motor was this? What car?
A PT Cruiser.
Oh, you know what? Those motors actually have a lot of problems.
Yeah.
fun story about a PT Cruiser. When I was working at a Quickie Lube, when I first started out, I had a PT Cruiser come and did an oil change on it. Just another day,
Mm-hmm.
simple oil change.
Yeah.
Like it takes 10 minutes. And go to start it up, it doesn't start. And we're like, okay, that's weird. Battery wasn't dead. The starter was engaging. It was just making a horrible, horrible noise. And come to find out, I look in the engine bay and I'm like, the whole motor is like this. And the engine mounts on those cars also have problems. And the engine mount failed as we were doing the oil change.
What?
So either that or it failed before he came in, and then when you shut it off, pretty much it just misaligned.
Yeah, wow, okay.
And it was just not, said no, not
That's
starting.
terrible.
Not starting. I mean, not that it was misaligned because the trans is always connected to the engine, but
yeah.
I think it electrically, I think maybe a ground ripped off or something, something
Right.
that. But the guy he was like, oh, you had to have done something. And we're like, there's a drain plug and there's a filter. I was like, that's the right filter, and the drain plug's on there, and there's oil filled to the top.
Yeah.
To the fill mark. I was like,
there's no way pulling a plug, changing a filter, and then putting in some fluid is gonna break your engine mount.
No, and honestly, that's part of this job. I mean, well, career. It's just you're gonna have to deal with people like that. We did an oil change on a Subaru. The lady comes back the next day and says, "My window's not rolling up. What did you do?" And we're just like, you have to be nice about it because people don't know about cars, so unfortunately, instantly they always think the last person that touched it was their fault.
Yeah.
Which sucks because it has nothing to do. A window regulator, which is what was wrong. It was a window regulator, or it could be the switch.
Yeah.
And could we have been the last ones to touch it, and that was the last chance it had, to put the window up? 100%. I can't tell you that your window switch is gonna go out right now.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You don't know.
So she wanted us to fix it for free, and we're like, no. We can give you a quote on it and let you know how much it'll be. We were like, but these are the two things we touch, and that's it.
No. Yeah. I have a good one for that. Someone came in. Mavis offers a free tire rotation. I think you don't even have to be a previous customer. Like you come in for a free tire rotation, and usually like that's I'm gonna expose them, but that's like their tactic for like getting a customer. Right. Like they'll do a free tire rotation, and we'll go through the checklist and be like, okay, they need an oil change, like based off if there's a sticker they need an oil change in like 100 miles. So we'll recommend an oil change. We'll recommend tires if they need it, brakes, like.
Yeah, but are these things that they really need? Like,
not always. I mean, I think in reality, because like there's the checklist, and then there's a certain like you put like they have like basically like your choices, like your percentages worn for brakes and tires and stuff like that, and like they're kind of strict, so like they're like we'll recommend brake pads if there's 30% left, which is a significant amount.
That is a very significant amount.
But it also depends. It depends, like, because my manager Steve, he was like really chill. He didn't like to screw people over. So if it was 30% left all around, he would tell the customer, like, you'll need brakes and X amount of miles, but we don't recommend them yet.
Yeah, but we do the same thing at my shop. We have a checklist, and if it's a new car, and we haven't seen it, or if it's a car that we haven't seen in a couple months and they're coming in for an oil change, we do a 24-point checkout.
Yeah.
And we have, brake pad measures, and, even the brake pad measuring tool, it'll tell you, like red, yellow, green, and it's marked. And when it gets, 4 millimeters is, 4 millimeter worth of brake pad doesn't look like a lot at all, but it'll last you another 10,000 miles.
See, that's why I don't like that we always did the percentage, because the percentage is relative. Like, what does 10% mean versus what does 4 millimeters mean? Like, 4 millimeters is a more like definite like measurement, whereas 10%, that also you're guessing 10% based off of how much you assume the original thickness was.
The original thickness was, because they're not always the same thickness.
Right.
Not always. I mean, they have to be within a certain spec for the caliper to be able to be pushed back enough and the pads to fit,
Right.
but they're not always the same.
No.
There are many front pads that are most of the times, from brand new are about 12 millimeters. So then when a customer hears 4, they're like, "Oh my god, like that's really bad."
Yeah.
But we around once it hits 3 millimeters, that's when we say like, "Listen, you're gonna need brakes probably the next oil change, or if you want, we can do them today, so you don't have to worry about it."
Right.
So
But back to my story. So the
yes,
guy came in for his free tire rotation, and I did the tire rotation. I didn't notice, but the guy comes out to his car, and then he comes right back in when he doesn't even sit down in it, and he's like, "Oh, my TPMS light's on." Like what does that mean? And I was like, "Oh, well, like maybe 'cause some cars the sensors are you have to reset the sensors like for the location so it's the proper wheel."
yeah, it's Chevy.
So it was an Accord, a 2018 or 19 Accord.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, okay, so it probably has that. So I went through the settings, and I couldn't even find that. Like that wasn't an option. So I was like, okay, so that's not the problem. So I pulled it back in. I checked his tire pressure, and it was good all around. So I was like, all right, yeah, you're set. And I turned his TPMS light off for him, and 15 minutes later he comes back. He's like, my light's on again, and we're like, oh, like that's weird. So we took it back in, looked at it, got my manager to come look at it with me, and like literally everything was fine. And then the guy, so as I was pulling it out, he was in the office talking to my manager, and basically like he sounded like he thought we did something. So then when I got out, he was standing there and he started like questioning me. He's like, "Oh, like does this happen often?" And I was like, "No, like this is really weird." He's like, "Well, I just got the car, like it shouldn't be doing this." And I was like, "All right, well, if you just got the car, then like it's probably still covered by some sort of warranty. Like you could probably go back to the dealership and they could take a look at it for you because like we're not equipped. Like we don't have the dealership scanner. Like we can't really exactly figure out like what was wrong."
Yeah.
Um, and so he's like, "Oh well, like that might cost me money, and like would you guys cover that cost?" And I was like, no, like that we didn't do anything, and like if that's I'm not the person to talk to that about with. And he was like, "Oh well, like are you sure like you didn't do anything?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "You're sure you didn't like when you were taking the wheel off, you didn't knock the sensor off or anything?" And I was like,
Not sensor.
first of all, because it doesn't even on those, it's an internal sensor. Like there's no you can't knock the sensor off. And I told him, and he was like very adamant, like trying to say that we did something wrong. And then he went in and talked to my manager, and my manager was basically just like, go to the dealership, but we're not going to cover any costs. And he's like, okay, well, I'll be sending a letter to you guys then when I get the quote.
That's fine.
And then we never heard anything from him after that. But he literally came in with the intention, because like we're assuming that that was a problem that he knew he had, and he came in for the free tire rotation just so he could blame us for it.
It's very possible. Very
Yeah,
possible. People are devious, and
yeah,
the more you're in the business, the more you realize it sucks.
hmm,
Because a lot of people, mechanics. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are mechanics that cheat people, and unfortunately, it gives us a bad name. But there's
yeah,
also good mechanics out there. Like, you know, I did a caliper, a rotor, and pads on just one side because that's what the customer wanted. And when I was bleeding the brakes,
that's interesting.
it is dot four brake fluid. So brake fluid, is hydroscopic, so it
Hmm.
absorbs water over time. And with dot four brake fluid, it gets really green.
Yeah,
Um, I personally dot three. I've seen like greenish, but I've never seen it really green. If anything, I've seen it actually to the point where it's uh, like a rusty orange color or
yeah,
black.
I've seen that's what I've seen.
Yeah. So when I was doing the brake flush, the brake fluid was coming out like a bright green. And I told her, I was like, hey, like you're all set. I was like, just one thing. I was like, when I was bleeding the brakes, like the brake fluid's green. I was like,
it's probably like the lines on the inside are probably starting to rot out slowly over time. I was like, so I definitely recommend getting a brake flush quick soon. And she was like, so you're trying to sell me something again? And I was like, again? I was like, she goes, yeah, the first time you did my brakes, you told me I needed a caliper. And I was like, and you came back to me in a month telling me your car was making a grinding noise because your pad grinded down because your caliper wasn't releasing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are
So
people like that.
yeah, and I was like, I'm just trying to help you out. I'm just trying to help your car, like for the, for the future, so you don't end up needing brake lines and spending like $500
Mm-hmm.
because brake lines are cheap. It's the
Yeah.
labor that's comes into it, and it's just like when you try to help people and they think you're like scamming them, it hurt, like it upsets you, and you're like I'm just
Mm-hmm.
trying to help, but
Mm-hmm.
some people don't see it like that,
No,
and
not at all.
it sucks, but. I mean, there's a lot of businesses out there like that deal with the same thing. There's a lot of people that scam people, and that's all people are used to. And
And then it creates like an idea
a
when you
rep
go, yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah, for everyone. And unfortunately, it's not fair, but it's how the world works. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
people think.
Yeah, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah,
but we are. Wow, we've been broadcasting for an hour and 13 minutes. So we're approaching the end of the show. Oh, I feel like there's like so much more I also wanted to talk about, but so I'll have to have you on again, definitely.
that's fine. I'm done.
Uh, but before we wrap things up, is there anything that you want to like shout out or plug? Obviously, like Elite Auto or anything else.
Yeah, if you need trustworthy mechanic work and want some aftermarket performance parts put on, and you don't want to get your wallet drained. I do decent pricing, a lot less than most shops.
Mm-hmm.
Most shops charge around 100, 120 an hour, as to where I'm 85. Um, but I've never had the only upset customer I had was the one that I was telling you about, and I was just telling her what I saw. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you need work and you need a quote on something, I always give you a quote before I do any work. So, and I can always work with you on the price. So,
Yes. So decent work from a decent guy for a decent price.
great.
Hit him up. Hit him up. uh, but next week will be the last podcast until the end of July because I'm going away to Montana. So I
Awesome.
won't be broadcasting anything. So next week will be the last time you guys see me for a while. So be good.